Hi there, and welcome to our next edition of our C2 Chemical Resources lessons. Now, today's lesson is about the properties of metals. Now, we are going to look at this in terms of the materials that could be used to make cars, but we're also going to look at the properties of different metals, focusing on aluminium and iron. Anyway, I'll see you at the end. Bye-bye. Okay, so by the end of this lesson on the properties of metals, you should understand what properties metals have to make them suitable for a particular job, such as car bodies. So let's have a look at some of the properties that there are. If we have a look at aluminium and iron, they have some properties that are similar and some properties that are different. Now, if we focus on density here, we can see that iron is more dense than aluminium. Now, obviously we should know that aluminium is not magnetic, but iron is. There are only 3 magnetic elements. In terms of corrosion, as we looked at in the last lesson on rusting, iron is very prone to corrosion, whereas aluminium, it forms that aluminium oxide layer that prevents that corrosion. Both metals are malleable. Now, malleable means that you can change the shape of it. And as with all metals, they're able to conduct electricity. Now, if we have a look at some of these then. Now, in terms of corrosion, aluminium would win that battle. It's a lot less less likely to corrode, as we've just spoken about. It's also less dense. Now, iron is a lot cheaper. Whereas iron is also magnetic. Okay, so they're the properties of the two metals. So the key ones is that aluminium won't corrode. It's also less dense, which means it's normally lighter. Now, it's lighter will mean that it's better fuel economy, and you can get the car to go a lot faster, especially if we're talking about things that are made for speed. Now, in terms of iron, iron is used in steel, which is an alloy, and it has carbon in it, which means it's very cheap to make. So often cheap cars will contain iron because of that particular reason. Now, for cars, aluminium can be used for the shell of a car, or steel. Now, aluminium can be made into an alloy by adding copper and magnesium. Now, we've got this lovely car here, and we can have a focus on what the materials are that make it. Now, in terms of the outside of the car, the shell here, this could be made from steel, and quite often is, as it's strong and it can be put into the right shape. Now, obviously here for the windscreens and all the other windows, it's going to be glass. Now, inside the engine here, you've got a lot of electrics, so you need a lot of copper. Now, here at the bumper, it's normally made of a plastic to allow for that flexibility and shape, especially during an accident. In here, we've got the wheel hubs, which will be made of aluminium, which means they're light and won't corrode. Now, here's the really good ones. Unless you're absolutely loaded and can afford leather seats, the seats inside will be made of nylon. And this, as an interesting note, might be why when you get out of the car you can get quite electrically charged from the nylon, and then you discharge that on the seat, on the door of the car, which is why you often get an electric shock. Now, all of these, you'll need to be aware of the information that or the reasons why they've selected those particular materials to make that particular car. Nowadays, cars are made from recyclable materials. Now, this is because the law requires 85% of the car to be made from recyclable materials, and this law has been in effect since 2006. It's due to increase to 95% in 2015. Now, one of the problems that people have with recycling cars is being able to separate the materials. However, the benefits from recycling means that we have less disposal problems. Recycling requires less energy than to extract the materials, and there is a limited amount of natural resources. So, for example, we are running out of crude oil, so there's going to be less plastics available. The amount of copper that's being mined is also running low, and also car batteries that require lead, if they are put into landfill, will cause some pollution problems. Okay, so let's have a quick review on what we've done. We have looked at the properties of iron and aluminium, and we've looked at how they compare and how they're different. We've also looked at the materials within a car and identified their use and why they're used. We've also looked at the why cars need to be made from recyclable material and the benefits and some of the problems associated with that, such as problem being it's difficult to separate, and one of the advantages means we've got the limited resources. Okay, that's the end of this lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.